Across the Western mystery schools, one term appears again and again: the Oversoul, a higher self, above and beyond our ordinary mind. For some, it is the crown of our spiritual hierarchy, the bridge between the human and the divine. But when we hold this idea up to the light of Tantra, Dzogchen, and Gnosis, something fascinating happens. The Oversoul is reframed, expanded, and even dissolved into something far more immediate: the spark within, the current of life itself, and the very ground of awareness. Today, we journey beyond the Oversoul. Ralph Waldo Emerson's essay, The Oversoul, in 1841, described the poetic unity of all beings. As he wrote, we live in succession, in division, in parts, in particles. Meantime, within man is the soul of the whole, the wise silence, the universal beauty to which every part and particle is equally related, the eternal one. Early 20th century mystery schools, the Golden Dawn, Theosophy, and later the Servants of Light, built a hierarchical model. Personality leads to the higher self leads to the Oversoul, and the Oversoul leads to the monad, the One, and Logos. Its strengths were it gave order, a sense of cosmic belonging, but also continuity as our paradigms changed from old forms to new. But its limitations are that it often felt abstract, hierarchical, above the embodied human. Western esoteric currents were influenced by Neoplatonism, Plotinus's idea of the ascent through levels, from the many to the many in the one to the one. By contrast, many mystical traditions emphasize collapse of distance, not climbing up, but realizing what already is. Oversoul as up there versus spark of awareness as right here. This tension is why the term doesn't always translate well across cultures and, I would argue, across time. For nearly 2,000 years, the dominant spiritual imagination of the West has been shaped by hierarchy. From the Church Fathers onward, the cosmos was pictured as a great ladder, angels above humans, bishops above priests, priests above laity, and finally, God enthroned above all reach. This structure gave stability, but it also reinforced distance. The divine was always somewhere higher, and we were always reaching upward. It's no surprise then that when the Western mystery schools began speaking of the Oversoul, they leaned into the same ladder: personality, higher self, Oversoul, monad. It makes sense in that cultural frame. But over time, the Oversoul has become more than an idea. It has turned into what I like to call a zeitgeist golem, a figure of our collective imagination, animated by repetition, marching through the modern spiritual scene as if it were eternal truth. People nod to it, invoke it, and sometimes even bow before it, but rarely pause to ask, is this golem really alive, or just a construct we inherited? When we step outside that frame into the voices of the Gnostics, the Tantrics, and the Dzogchen masters, the golem begins to crumble. What emerges is not hierarchy, but immediacy. Not an ascent towards a distant Oversoul, but a spark within a current flowing through us, a luminous awareness already here. Where the old imagination bound us in rungs and ladders, these traditions invite us to discover the divine in every breath, every moment, every fibre of being. In texts like the Apocryphon of John, humanity contains a divine seed, the sperma theion, from the Sophia, the wisdom. As the Gospel of Philip says, you saw the Spirit, you became the Spirit. You saw Christ, you became Christ. If you see the Father, you will become the Father. Here the higher self is not an external oversoul, but a hidden spark waiting to be remembered. The demiurge may keep us bound, but the spark itself is intact. Awakening is less about ascent, more about anamnesis, remembering what we are. In Tantra, this idea reframes the divine not as remote but embodied in subtle energy. The higher self manifests as the dance of Śiva, consciousness, and Shakti, prana, or energy. The Oversoul becomes not a stratum but a current. In the Spanda Karikas, we are told about the subtle throb of awareness. As it says, the divine vibration is the cause of the existence and dissolution of the universe, as waves arise and fall in the motion. Through mantra, mudra, ritual gestures, and visualization, practitioners align with this current, realizing they are not separate from it. The spark is not buried as in Gnosis, but circulating in the subtle body, waiting to be awakened. And when we move to Dzogchen, the Dzogchen masters teach that the highest realization is recognition of Rigpa. This is primordial awareness. The Oversoul here dissolves into the Ji, the ground of being. Longchenpa writes, awareness is empty, yet luminous. It is without root, yet self-knowing. To recognize this is to be free. No ascent, no hierarchy, no spark hidden or current flowing, simply the ground of being already present. Meditation is about recognition, not attainment. So what happens when we weave these visions together? The Oversoul, as described in the Western mystery schools, gave us a framework of belonging. But if we expand beyond it, the picture becomes richer. The Gnostic seed buried within, the Tantric current of energy in our body, the Dzogchen ground of awareness, already shining our minds sky-like. Oversoul is not a ladder above us. It is a name for the radiance already alive in us.